Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Craig. I apologize for being on so late this morning, but we have been dealing with some breaking news and legislative analysis here in the state of California, and we figured that you would appreciate being the first ones to hear about this. This is some crazy stuff, folks. Now, you guys might remember our good friend, Mr. Gibson, Mr. Mike Gibson. He is an assembly member from the city of Carson. A few years ago, he decided to wade into the whole gun control debate during gun apocalypse in an attempt to introduce a bill that he wanted to deal with the issue of ghost guns. And the legislation that he introduced was so bad. It was so bad that it would have defined just about anything as a firearm. Well, he's decided to reintroduce similar legislation. But before we talk about his new legislation, let me just show you real quickly. Let me just show you how bad the legislation was that he introduced before. It was well, you guys have probably already seen the video, but if you haven't, this will give you a chuckle. Quite simply put, AB 1673 defines items as firearms that are not firearms. In fact, the term that is used specifically in here has to do with the term can be readily converted. And I'll give you an example. This here is a block of aluminum. The only thing that separates this from being a firearm and that item over there is a CNC machine and the experience to know how to use it. By definition, it is readily convertible. And I would ask the author, where would you like us to put the serial number? Also, this is an unfinished lower receiver for an AK-47. As you can see, with the exception of some holes and divots, it's not dissimilar from a piece of sheet metal that one would pick up at Lowe's, pick up at Ace Hardware, or would pick up at Home Depot. So I would ask the author, are we going to have stations at every one of these hardware stores and require them to actually serialize this, because this is in fact readily convertible. Finally, I distributed around an example. This is a blog post that I share with each and every one of your staff members. This is an example of an individual who took a shovel and converted it into an AK-47. As you can see, he didn't use sophisticated tools. He simply used the resources that were available to him, thus rendering it readily convertible. I would ask the author once again, where would you like us on the shovel to put the serial number? Yeah, It was so bad that Bill Quirk, who was the chair of the committee at the time, one of the most anti-gun members in the entire state legislature, decided that, this bill is just too crazy. I don't know what anybody did, but whatever they did, they just made a gun out of a shovel. They wound up actually pulling the bill from that hearing, not voting on it, because once again, the assembly member had devolved to nothing more than they're killing children. That was his sole argument. Well, now he decided to introduce a bill, Assembly Bill 2382. Now, this is a bill that, as initially introduced, would have regulated the in essence, it would have made it so that you wouldn't be able to buy lower receivers. Now, he's now expanded it to not just include unfinished receivers. He's now expanded the bill to include a bunch of different firearm parts. To kind of just tell you a little bit about it. So in essence, it would include amongst the items that now would need to be regulated. It would include where are we at here? What they calls them firearm precursor parts. That would include barrels, ammunition, feeding devices, including magazines for semi-automatic firearms and speed loaders for revolvers. Unfinished receivers, molded magazines for semi-automatic molded or shaped polymer frames, receivers, metallic castings, metallic forgings, receiver flats, such as the Kalashnikov style weapon systems, Browning style receiver side plates, Kalashnikov style receiver channels, finished upper receivers for AR-15 or AR-10 firearms, unfinished handgun frames, finished slides, or basically anything used just about any. I mean, all of these things are now going to require what we'll call SB 1235 style regulation, right? So you know how SB 1235 supplanted Proposition 63 in terms of how ammunition is regulated. Well, now this is going to be the same thing. So what does that mean? That means in order to sell these parts, an individual is going to have to get yet another license in order to be able to sell these various different parts. On top of that, an individual these are also going to require background checks. So similar to ammunition, at the beginning of 2019, we'll be requiring background checks. Well, guess what? To purchase any of these parts will require background checks. They'll have to go through a licensed vendor, which means, guess what? No more online sales, meaning even if you buy it online, it's going to have to be shipped to a licensed vendor. That vendor is then going to have to run a background check in order for you to be able to get your firearm part. That's right, a background check to get your firearm part. Now, it goes even further, though. It makes it so that you can't, a minor cannot. So if you're under the age of 21, even though currently in the state of California, you can own a rifle, a long gun. No, this would make it so that you may be able to own a long gun, but you can't go buy any long gun parts. Right? That's according to this, that's what this particular measure will do. Now, this was written in such a way, and they wrote it like this because, well, they figured, well, hey, we've already done it with ammunition, so why not just do it? Let's now do it with various different gun parts, right? One of the things they've done is they've also, by the way, don't forget, you're going to need a government ID. This also sets up a database for the purchase of gun parts, meaning the California Department of Justice is going to have yet another database that they are going to manage in terms of who is purchasing gun parts. Now, it's going to set up a new DOJ fund in order to pay for all this, because guess who's going to pay for it? Yep, you're right. You're going to pay for it. I'm going to pay for it. The people who are selling firearm parts are, in fact, going to pay for it. It'll be a ban on parts unless you are exempted or you're an APHIS, meaning unless they have record of you having purchased a firearm before, you're not going to be able to purchase firearm parts. Because, see, if you're not an APHIS, there's no way that they can check to see if you're okay. And that's the thing. See, understand. Here's the important thing to understand is that they can't check NICS. They can't check NICS because NICS is only available for firearm purchases. So they have no real way of doing this, of checking in the national system without, they have no way of doing it. So what they want to do is they want to say, well, if you already purchased a firearm, then at least at some point there's been a background check on you. Or a federal background check. But anyway, so getting back to this, I mean, folks, the thing that's so frustrating about this stuff is that, there seems to be a never-ending barrage of attacks on gun owners, on us, and our ability to be able our ability to be able to exercise our right to keep and bear arms. They don't care whether or not you have the ability to do it. They want to make it so that because ultimately what they're going to do is they're regulating ammunition. They're going to control and limit your ability to purchase ammunition, and now they're going to control and limit your ability to be able to purchase firearm parts. They're also through various different zoning, they're making it so that it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to purchase firearms. So let me see, if you can't buy firearms. If no one can sell firearms, then no one can buy firearms. And if you can't buy firearm parts, then you can't even not only buy a firearm, but you can't even repair the firearm that you have. And then they ban they have banned every new semi-automatic handgun via the roster. Every new model semi-automatic handgun via the roster has been banned in the state of California. They are doing everything that they possibly. Oh, and then there's the ability to carry. They're doing everything possible to go around your ability to be able to exercise your rights to keep and bear arms. Folks, we need to be engaged in this. And I know normally I don't utilize coffee as a call to action, but folks, this is a fire mission. This is a fire mission. We need to get active. We need to get engaged. We need to stop this guy. We need to stop this legislation. And the fact is that the California Department of Justice doesn't know how to implement this, and this is their best bet. This is what they're hoping that they can do this, that they can get away with doing this so that they can infringe on your right to keep and bear arms. Now, they'll say that's not the point. They'll say that, we just want to make sure that we want to keep firearms out of the hands of people who aren't supposed to have them. But yet and still, there's absolutely nothing about this bill that will keep gun owner or criminals from being able to get their hands on guns. So one of the things that I want you guys to do, you guys need to go online, go right now. Go to stopab2382.com. That's stopab2382.com. It's real simple. Right there, you'll get details on the bill. You can actually take a look at all the bullet points there yourself. You can send a message. There's a preset message there. You can also amend that message to say whatever it is that you want it to say. But folks, let's make sure that we do this. Because by the way, here's the other thing. This is the thing that I didn't tell you guys, is that violation of this is going to, in fact, be a prohibiting misdemeanor. Meaning if you violate this, you're going to lose your right to keep and bear arms for 10 years. It's a 10-year prohibition. I mean, so in other words, they've made it so confusing because, once again, they're not going to tell you which parts. It's going to be very difficult for you to know which parts you can sell or can't sell. But they're going to make it very clear that you're going to be a criminal. And once they make you a criminal, they're going to prohibit you from being able to own or purchase a firearm for 10 years. I always thought misdemeanors were about violent crime. Misdemeanors were petty crimes. I always thought you should lose if you're going to lose a fundamental right, how are you going to lose it for a misdemeanor, for a minor petty crime? At least that's what they want to tell us when they keep letting these criminals out on the streets. They're saying, well, these are minor crimes. These are small crimes. Yet you lose a constitutionally enumerated fundamental right as a result of it. Folks, this bill cannot be allowed to pass. So, once again, go to stopab2382.com. Make sure your voice is heard. Now, we can't give you a copy of the bill yet because, once again, this is language that we've just received. It's not even updated in their system yet. But I promise you, if you're watching this video sometime past April 6th, then there's a good chance that the language is there now on the take action page. There's a good chance that it's updated. But take a look for yourself, folks. Let's get the word out right now. Let's let everybody know that this firearm parts ban. We told you these firearm parts bans were coming. As soon as they went after bump stocks, as soon as they went after under 21, you guys were like, well, no, they're not going to go after firearm parts. Well, guess what? Here it is, and yes, we told you it was coming. So let's get active. Let's get engaged. Let's make things happen right now. That's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in and being a part in the fight for our civil rights. Remember, you got to use them or you're going to lose them. Guys, take care. Have a good weekend.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.